Hello, ECU virtual conference participants. Thank you for joining myself and my two co-authors, Joachim and Hannes, as we talk you through our qualitative exploration of chiropractic practice in the Danish elite football setting. That's soccer to the non-Europeans in the audience. We would like to thank our participants for agreeing to be interviewed and for their thoughtful responses provided. To set the scene then, I'll briefly touch on the notion of interprofessional practice, healthcare in high-stakes sports, and the traditional narrative of chiropractic service provision in this context. Interprofessional practice, or IPP, occurs when practitioners from different disciplinary backgrounds combine and then focus their unique knowledge on a group of people dealing with a particular healthcare challenge. The premise of IPP is that multiple practitioners provide a larger cognitive map, resulting in a superior management solution. However, a key ingredient is collaboration, which can be simplistically defined as the ability to work effectively with a practitioner from a different disciplinary background. In elite football, as in other forms of high-stakes professional sport, healthcare is driven by two key factors, these being strategic organizational goals and an athlete-focused policy. These two factors have created opportunities for healthcare providers not traditionally included in the healthcare team, but with novel and valued contributions to penetrate this domain of practice. With regards to the former, the organization, in this instance the football club, having made an oftentimes significant investment, aims to maximize athletes' availability. This imperative often translates into health maintenance and rapid return to play strategies that may include non-conventional approaches. With regards to the latter, athletes in contemporary professional sport have a strong voice in the model of healthcare provided and therefore may influence the composition of their healthcare team. Chiropractors can claim a degree of successful penetration into the world of high-level organized sport. A good example of this being the high utilization of chiropractors by the US athletes at the Rio Summer Olympics. However, the traditional narrative suggests that chiropractor involvement hinges heavily on expressed needs from athletes, and not due to their acceptance as a valued part of the healthcare team. Moreover, the involvement of the chiropractor is contingent on their acceptance of a subordinate status and with limited role, very often that of a manual therapist. This status quo is suboptimal for the delivery of effective IPP, which is based on principles of equality and mutual respect. But what then if the rules were to change? What if chiropractors were not seen as alternative, but rather claimed a place amongst mainstream healthcare service providers? Would their role and value be more appreciated by fellow practitioners? Well, in Denmark, chiropractors are legislated as part of mainstream healthcare, and over the years, several studies have suggested that the status and legitimacy of the profession is higher than in most parts of the world, where chiropractors exist as a recognized occupational group. Football is Denmark's most popular and wealthiest sport. The Superliga or Danish Premier League clubs are collectively valued at around 186 million euros. With this type of money at play, multi-professional healthcare teams are commonplace and could include chiropractors. Indeed, this does appear to be the case, as a recent audit of healthcare service providers indicated more than 40% of Denmark's top-level soccer clubs do indeed engage the services of a chiropractor. From this background then, the main objective of our study was to explore the role and perceived value of chiropractors in this setting. Role being defined as the functions or tasks the chiropractor undertook, and value being the worth of these functions and tasks. As a secondary objective, we also identified perceived facilitators and barriers to practice. To observe and study this rather complex phenomenon, we conceptualized a comparative qualitative study consisting of clubs who both employed and did not employ chiropractors. We collected data from the perspective of healthcare coordinators, chiropractors, and athletes via semi-structured interviews. We then coded and analyzed these responses thematically in order to extract meaning. We contacted all 14 of the current Superliga clubs to determine their use of chiropractors, and were surprised to find that all but 2 clubs reported using a chiropractor. We subsequently identified 3 different scenarios, these being where chiropractors were not in use, when a chiropractor was contracted as part of the in-house healthcare team, and thirdly, when a chiropractor was contracted as an external service provider. To include these 3 scenarios, we purposefully sampled 8 clubs, with 7 agreeing to participate. A total of 10 interviews were conducted, with the majority stemming from clubs with an in-house chiropractor. Our data were organized around 14 individual codes and 4 interlinked code families, which included barriers and facilitators. We furthermore abstracted 3 themes which encapsulated contrasting feedback around the roles and perceived value of chiropractors. These themes were broadening horizons, in-house preferred to takeaway, and already covered or even necessary. Under the broadening horizons theme, there was clear evidence for the notion of bolstering the cognitive map of the healthcare team so that it could cover problems both rapidly and comprehensively. Under theme 2, there appeared to be a gradual shift from external to in-house status for the chiropractor as their utilization increased. A key driver in this status shift appeared to be the need for rapid access to the chiropractor. However, by contrast, the third theme questions whether chiropractors represented a practitioner group with unique skill set needed to provide optimal health care for athletes. Interestingly, where chiropractors were substituted with osteopaths, these individuals were given a limited manual therapy role and did not give input into rehabilitation protocols. We identified 3 distinct roles for chiropractors, these being the clarification of injury mechanisms, the assessment and diagnosis of healthcare issues, and the provision of a variety of conservative manual interventions. Corresponding to these roles, chiropractors were valued as sparring partners for their capacity to improve diagnostic triage and their contribution to actioning more comprehensive management strategies. Importantly, and seen from a barriers to practice perspective, the role and value of chiropractors was not universally acknowledged. Furthermore, occupational groups currently claiming core team member status are not likely to simply open their domain of practice to a set of newcomers, and therefore smaller clubs may struggle to support the addition of a chiropractor to the in-house healthcare team. On the other hand, a shift towards extended healthcare service delivery appears to have benefited chiropractors, along with a perceived need for a musculoskeletal healthcare expert and supported by high athlete satisfaction. Our study had some limitations, and probably the most important one was the lack of input from osteopaths practicing in this context. Thicker descriptions of the experiences of an alternative manual therapy practitioner group would have allowed us to explore more fully the issue of professional legitimacy. From our data, we generated a number of salient issues which warrant further investigation, these being whether chiropractors are perceived as having a generalized musculoskeletal care role or one focused on the spine, whether the chiropractors are likely to be seen as a value-added service provider or whether they can claim a core member role, and finally, whether the general status and legitimacy of chiropractors in Denmark systematically influences the scope of their practice in this setting. When employed as in-house service providers, chiropractors are engaged in interprofessional practice characterized by meaningful collaboration. Their presence is perceived to improve the quality of athletic health care through the addition of discipline-specific knowledge, diagnostic triage capabilities, and increased intervention options. In instances where chiropractors are not utilized, the role of the spinal health expert appears to be limited to that of a technician therapist. It is unclear at this stage whether chiropractors can claim core team member status. Further exploration of this interesting context of interprofessional practice is warranted. This concludes our presentation. We would like to thank you for your attention, and please feel free to contact me if you have any unanswered questions, or if you might like to discuss future collaboration. Oops, almost forgot. Here are a couple of references I think you might find very useful. Bye for now.